Welcome back to Home Sellers 101. I'm Mary Barella Cordova with RE/MAX Revolution.
And I'm Mike Cordova with RE/MAX Revolution and Motto Mortgage Express.
And we're back here today talking about presenting the offer to our seller.
That's right. In our previous previous video, we were talking about receiving offers, analyzing the offers, and now we're going to talk about presenting the offer to the seller. And what does that mean? We're going to look at that offer, and we're going to look at the terms, the close date, the additional provisions, whether or not there's a contingency, and we're going to lay that out for our seller.
What is additional provisions? I know in the last series, I mentioned that our contract has 20 to 26 deadline dates. It's quite long, and these deadline dates are things that have to happen during a contract. So they make an offer with a price, they give us a closing date, but in between there's an awful lot of things that have to happen. The most important thing, first of all, is we get under contract, so we're going to negotiate through that. But there's an inspection deadline that the buyer has time to do an inspection by, and Mike and I look at that very closely. Do we want the inspection to be 2 weeks out? No way. It better be in 10 days or less.
The earlier the better, because we want to make sure that this seller is truly going to execute this contract. So a lot of times we see a situation where we get cash buyers who use the inspection to renegotiate price.
We see this happen so many times, and it infuriates me as a listing agent. So go ahead.
Right. So people in real estate, you heard the saying, cash is king. And cash buyers kind of think they're the king. So what they'll do is they'll overbid on the property just to make sure that they beat out other interested buyers. Mm-hmm. But then come inspection, they'll try and renegotiate the price because they feel like because they're bringing cash, that they are the king, that they make all the rules.
They're not going to just come back like a regular buyer, which all buyers have the right to. Their inspection period, they have the right to do a sewer scope and check the electrical, check the plumbing, check the roof. And all buyers are going to come back and ask the seller by the deadline date to maybe repair a few things. And that's perfectly understandable. They might have 6 things, they might have 8 things. And then the seller looks at it, and the seller then going to decide what they'll fix. But when these people do it, typically they just come back and they say, you know what? There's this many things, 20, 30, who knows, and we want $20,000 off the price of your home. That's the only way we're going to move forward. It's not just a few items. They don't just want $2,000 or $3,000. They want 20. It's always at least $20,000 or more negotiated off the price of the home. So Mike and I, because of our experience, and we see this happen, we are always going to make sure when we present a cash offer to our seller that the seller understands this could be a negotiating strategy in the future. So we have to be very careful to analyze offers in the beginning correctly, so we help them make the seller make the right choice.
And when we get those cash offers, we make sure that they have a very short inspection deadline, so that if they're going to pull something like that, we know right away, and we can get our sellers out of that deal, because there could be other offers.
When it is a homeowner, an owner-occupant, we call them, that's going to move into the house that's made the offer, typically those people are so excited that we've even accepted their offer or countered it, and now they're under contract. They want that house bad. And their buyer agent is going to recommend very accurately to them, be careful, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, or Mr. Buyer. Don't ask for too many things, only safety and health concerns. Because that seller, remember, he had 3 offers. And if we screw up and ask for too many inspection items, he is going to probably just say no and move on to another offer.
We're going to talk more about inspections in our next video.
Yes, we are. But going back to analyzing the offer for the seller,
right.
I think you brought up a good point about cash offers, but we also want to make sure that the seller understands additional provisions.
Additional provisions are provisions that the buyer's agent writes in that are different than what are the typical contract terms. Mm-hmm. Say, for example, they have a contingency and the property isn't under contract. Mm-hmm. They could write something in there that says, we're going to market this property for X amount of days, and if we're not under contract, then the deal falls.
Right.
That's just one example of an additional provision. There could be hundreds of examples of additional provisions that we've seen over our 15 to 20 years of real estate. So it's something that, because of our experience, we can look at and we can present the information to the seller and explain the benefits and the downfalls to each of those additional provisions.
Our job as a listing agent is to take the stress off of our seller. Our experience and the way we analyze something because of our experience is going to help the seller not have to think about all the little details of the offer. We're going to come to them and say, here's the key points of offer 1, key points of offer 2, and key points of offer 3. This is what I recommend as your listing agent. I recommend that offer number 2, because it's cash and it's under the purchase price, kind of goes away. And then I recommend that we focus on 1 and 3. These would be the counters I would do, and I would make sure that the offer is written very cleanly. I almost never accept an offer hands down. I usually counter every offer, even if it's 1 or 2 items that the buyer agent missed when they wrote the offer. So it's very, very important for Mike and I, and we teach our agents this, that you better go through that offer with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that nothing gets missed, because the seller is who you represent and you are doing your job, and all your fiduciary responsibility is to that seller. So you better get it right.
So we submit a counter, we give them a deadline to accept that counter. Typically they do, and then we move forward. And
if they don't like our counter, then we move to offer number 3 that was just hanging out there waiting. And believe me, in this market, when we call an agent and tell them that we've sent a counter, that the seller has decided to work with them, they're very, very happy and willing to work with our terms. They're also excited to be working with our team because of our experience and our reputation in the real estate community. So thank you for visiting us again with Sellers Home Buyers 101, and we're very excited to be wrapping this up. And please mark the bell notification, mark the like, mark the subscribe, and take care, be well. My wonderful husband Mike Cordova again with Remax Revolution and Mata Mortgage Express, and I'm Mary Barella Cordova. Have a wonderful day.